Hello my friends and welcome, my name is Dennis. The last week I was really sick, that's why I wasn't able to upload the videos on this channel. Hopefully this week will be more effective for me. For example, tomorrow I'm planning to do some of the hiking and again I'm going to the gym. I wonder if it's interesting for you, so I decided to record some of the videos from my studio, and today we're gonna speak about aviation. Let's return back to this topic. We are now on the Herald website. Here you may see list of the aviation events that happened recently. Also here you may find the results of the investigation with the relative links to the original information. So we have the filters, crashes, aviation accidents, incidents, neutral events, and what is our reports on. Okay, reports on. So aviation accidents, it's not the crash, there were no casualties, but some of the damages to the airplane. So what happened there? The accident of Copa Boeing 738, so Boeing 737-800, it's the airplane I'm still type rated on, at Panama City, so the main base probably for the Copa Airlines. It happened on September 25th. Yes, it happened a long time ago. Actually, runway excursion on landing. We have the images. So we have this updated information probably, but preliminary reports or something else was added. That is why this event was listed on the top. So what happened? The airliner just accidentally excurted the runway, probably because of the flooded runway. All the passengers were okay, and you can see it was the emergency evacuation because the fire could have been started. Yes, it's the proper decision from the captain to evacuate the airplane, especially then the nose gear collapses. It usually collapses into the electronic compartment. It may cause the shortcut, so the fire. So it is the proper decision making to start the evacuation right away. Because it's not the new case, I will not read it out, the information for you. What I may say to you that obviously the runway condition played a great role in this accident, but also there was the thrust asymmetry. The left engine activated and accelerated to 84N1, so 84% of the thrust on reverse position, so it was the negative thrust, but the right engine remained at 41% of N1, which is higher than the idle thrust. I wonder also why. Speed brakes as well as the brakes did not activate automatically. This is one more factor. Strangely, the thrust levers were not at idle, so they were both above idle. Then the airplane touched the ground. That's why the speed brakes were not deployed. So the classical one for the landing excursion, you need to set the idle, and after the ground you start the brakes, you increase the thrust. If you see the airplane is moving sideways, you need to decrease the thrust, so the reverse. But the main important thing is to touch down the runway with thrust levers at idle position. Also avoid kiss landings in this situation because the wheel spin up may not occur, so your wheel may be just floating over the runway surface on the water without any spinning. It might happen, and in that case you will not have the speed brakes after the landing, so it's very crucial to have a standard usual landing with the thrust levers at idle. And you just monitor the direction, manipulating with the thrust. I had aquaplaning once on ATR72. It's not a good feeling, my friends, but somehow I managed to deal with it. On ATR we don't have the speed brakes, we don't have the spoilers, just some of the interceptors which help you to control the airplane during the roll, but those are just useless on the ground rollout, so you need just to land the airplane. And on ATR then I had the side movement. I decreased and increased the power on the engines. That is how I remained on the runway, more or less. Is this airplane total loss? No, I don't think so, but the repairs will be very expensive. The engines probably got damaged with debris, and also in the compartment, as I told you, the nose landing gear just goes inside, damaging the critical equipment. We had this case in one of the Ukrainian airlines. It doesn't exist any longer. The name of it was Aviation Airlines. So in Moscow Sheremetyevo, they started the rollout and excurted the runway. Then the nose gear went inside, causing severe devastation to electronic compartment. The airplane was restored but didn't fly for a very long time. It was written off, so you need just to take care on your landing. The weather, I wouldn't say it's so dramatic out there. Maybe it was rainy, but rainy landing is the usual thing. Bum bum. What else do we have? Another Boeing 737, this time the longer version 900 from the United. The turbulence, severe turbulence, injures 3 of the persons. Oh my god. Once I experienced, well, not severe turbulence, but close to it, it's really uncomfortable. Also for the pilots to stay in the cockpit trying to control and manipulate the airplane. However, it is not critical for airplane. As for the passengers, you just need to stay seated, and I do recommend to fasten the seatbelt all the time, not just then the airplane experience the turbulence. So if you're not busy, if you're not staying, walking, or going to a toilet, just be seated with the fasten belts on. Here we see that 2 of the flight attendants received serious injuries. Oh my god, I hope they're okay, and 1 passenger received minor injuries. So for the flight attendants, it could be a little different. So then the captain or the pilot flying or whoever is in the cockpit takes the decision to fasten the passengers. You heard this bang sound, and then you see the sign fasten your seatbelts. It means that the airplane is experiencing the turbulence or up to experience, because we may select it on before, for example, going into the clouds or something like that. But flight attendants may continue their normal operation, delivering beverages or whatever. For the flight attendants, we have the special call. Flight attendants, please take your seats, or flight attendants, be seated. I believe that if flight attendants were injured, it means that captain didn't call them to be seated. It's the mistake also from the cockpit in this case. That is what I think. Because here the airplane entered the clouds and immediately encountered severe turbulence for about 5 seconds. Yes, obviously, if you avoid the build-ups, how it's written over here, if you are avoiding build-ups, you should expect that you might enter the turbulence. And in this case, it was severe turbulence, which is the usual case in cumulus congestus, cumulonimbus, or other types of the clouds with significant updrafts. So here they did the public address announcement that I say to you, they have be seated immediately, but it was too late. It should have been done before, because you are looking that you are entering the clouds. You should say it before entering the clouds. Fasten the seatbelts and call the flight attendants to be seated. That is what I would do in this particular case. Bum bum. An Iceland Air Boeing 757-200 got the tail strike on the flight from Kathmandu to Varanasi, landed in Varanasi's runway 27. Here we have the time, but contacted the runway surface with the tail. Aircraft rolled out without any further accident. There was the replacement aircraft sent to the place, so the tail strike happened on landing. Usually they happen during takeoff, but not this time. So rounding to 7, they have the crosswind with a headwind component, 2,500 meters visibility, haze, usual weather for Varanasi. The aircraft sustained substantial damage. No more other information is given over here. So why the tail strikes may appear during the touchdown? As I said to you, it's quite rare compared to takeoffs. However, those might happen, Because, first of all, the high angle of pitch, so the high angle of attack. Any kind of the airplane is certified for the specific approach speeds for the certain conditions, the airplane weight, wind, whatever, but it will never lead to the tail strike. So obviously the pitch required should be much less with a special margin not to reach your tail. It means that the tail strikes might happen if you lose the airspeed on approach or during the wind shear conditions. So you compensate the loss in the lift by increasing your pitch, so the angle of attack. That is what happened, I'm sure about it. Strangely, but it also might happen if you approach on a high speed. In that case, there is the risk of the bounce landing, and with every touchdown, then the time goes, your airspeed drops, and you bounce higher and higher from the ground, finally touching the ground with your tail, at that time with a low speed. Also, landing with a tailwind might help to reach the tail strike, but there are no more reasons for this event to occur.
Bum bum.
Alright, this one is interesting. The ATR72, the airplane I used to fly, landed short of the runway. Then it went around and made a successful landing. I'll not read all of that stuff. You may check out the website and read it out yourself. So the airplane landed in front of the runway. It was damaged. Yes, it hit also the fence near to the airfield. Here's the approximate landing position, the first touchdown, and immediately after it, they performed the only possible and only right decision to go around and try to land once again. So why they landed there, honestly, I'm out of clue. I haven't read that article, but obviously I will do it, just not right now, because it's the brief review of the news around the world. It reminded me one case that happened in Borispol airport, also with ATR. It wasn't the Ukrainian airline, but the other one from Lithuania, and they were performing the ILS approach on the runway, so they captured the localizer, but not this one. They captured the false localizer array, which is located somewhere around here. So the fake localizer, sometimes they might appear, and they followed like this profile until they touch with the trees. After it, they performed the go-around, landing safely on the runway, delivering some of the woods in their landing gear. So here the situation is very similar. I wonder why they don't have the visual reference with the runway. Oh, here you see the active weather, so wind 5 knots, the visibility is 100 meters, but here we see 1000 meters. So what exactly happened there? You may read in this article, quite interesting. So obviously I'll check it out. So it's near crash case, my friends. They were really lucky to be able to go around, and the airplane haven't sustained lots of the damages. Very robust ATR.
Bum bum.
This is the very interesting case, unusual, with the Boeing 737-800. So they were taken off, then the parts of the runway start to collapse, going to hit the tail plane. The crew decided to reject takeoff at 60 knots, so it's the low speed reject takeoff. Here we also may see the video of it. So the airplane starts the takeoff row. This is the Airbus, by the way, and here you can see how the parts of the runway just separate, hit the airplane, hopefully in the back. If those parts were ingested into the engines, it would be a very bad scenario for the airplane. It could be the fire, and obviously it was the right decision for the crew to stop the takeoff row because the airplane was damaged. We had the case like that in Zaporizhia airport. Then there was the repair done to the runway. After the repair jobs were done, the airport lowered the restrictions. They deleted the NOTAM that the airfield is on repairs. So our airplane landed there, but the pavement wasn't really that robust, and part of it just separated and went into the flaps and into the tail part of the airplane. So later on the airplane was grounded and required the maintenance action. So it's not a joke. The pavement should be nice. Here you just see, I've never seen like that before. Just the parts separated. Oh my god, it's just huge. The tarp was just put on top without any kind of the glue to took it into the old pavement, so technology wasn't followed properly.
Bum bum.
The accident with Lufthansa Airbus A330 happened in Abuja on a takeoff, so they collided with the animal on a takeoff row. The speed was 100 knots, the aircraft slowed safely and returned to the airport, so it's the high-speed reject takeoff on this very big airplane. They did not specify the particular animal, however it should be very big because the engine was damaged and also the nose part of the airplane. The Airbus A330 is quite a big airplane, so the animal should be big to reach the nose of the plane. Then I was flying in Indonesia. I saw the big lizard once on the runway. It wasn't the Komodo dragon, but maybe half a size of it. Maybe baby Komodo dragon.
Bum bum.
Okay, probably you already know that stuff. Once again, Ural Airlines are landing their Airbus just on the field, this time because of the hydraulic failure. Yes, in Russia they have some problems with the parts and the maintenance. That's why they might have some of the issues. Remember, I told you that if you travel to Russia, do not fly their airlines. The mystery for me was why the crew landed the airplane in a field with hydraulic system failure, because it's fully functional to land it on the runway. The answer actually shocked me a lot. They did the go around because of that failure. They decided to go to their origin airfield, so they climbed their flight level. Both of the engines were working, but there was one big but. Without hydraulic, they couldn't retract the landing gear, so they should perform the special calculation for the fuel consumption with the landing gear extended. It wasn't done, so they relied on the FMC fuel prediction, which is totally different if you have the extra drag with the landing gear down. So on the way, they just simply ran out of fuel, and the only way for them was to land in the field that was nearby. Luckily in Russia there are lots of the fields around, so definitely they escalated the problem to the forced landing. Here it was the emergency evacuation as usual. At least here they took the proper decision to evacuate everyone. I would say that the airplane is good, the engines should be okay. They ingested probably some of the debris, but it's not that significant. There are no stones, nothing that could hurt the engines. So probably one more crazy Russian pilot should take off this Airbus from this airfield on its own power. Also, if you remember the previous case with Ural Airlines, that they landed outside the airfield after the bird strike, there was also the pilot mistake, because one engine was working. It was confirmed by investigation. Finally, we have the report after 8 years. So why in that case the airplane landed outside, just in the field, in a cornfield? Because the pilots were operating the airplane in a very bad condition. Again, they forgot to retract the landing gear. Also, they were flying with large side slip angle, and after they saw that they're descending, they decided to retract the landing gear on this sand. And in Airbus case, then you retract the landing gear, there is the special door extended that increases the drag force, so airplane collided just into the cornfield with the landing gear partially retracted. Well guys, I think it's all for today, and tell me if you like this kind of the brief reviews of what is happening around the world in aviation, maybe some different aviation news. I will record those videos because it really not time consuming for me. I wish you a peaceful sky wherever you are, and have a great time.